And there is nobody better to talk to about this than Roshini Rajkumar. Roshini is the host of the podcast, The Crisis Files. Today's episode, as we'll talk about, features yours truly as the guest. She's a C-suite strategist, licensed attorney, as I mentioned, host of The Crisis Files, and has been a regular contributor on this program since August of 2014. She is the former host of her own program, Real Talk with Roshini Rajkumar, on the legendary WCCO radio in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where she hosted for 9 years. And she joins me now. Good morning, Roshini.
Good morning, Jimmy. I know it is a morning probably filled with a lot of different kinds of emotions for you, and I'm really honored to be in today's program, so thanks for having me.
Well, I so appreciate it. It's always something when you're doing a transition like this, and you hosted 9 years on WCCO before you sunset your program. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk for a moment about talk radio. And just the nature of this medium and how tremendous and incredible it is, whether you are doing interviews or interacting with callers or what have you, there's really something special about it.
There is. It's a very intimate medium. In fact, when I was a TV news reporter for about a decade, in my early years through nearly the end, my final market was in Detroit, I would go on our different sister radio stations, or I'd be on different stations to promote sweeps pieces. They used to call them sweeps. And I just fell in love with talk radio. And when I ended up leaving TV news to start my own business in 2006, I knew I wanted to get a radio show one day. And in that journey, landing that show was an honor and a privilege. It was part of my business plan, but you just don't know where the chips are going to fall. And what I would say for those 9 years of being on the airwaves every Sunday on WCCO radio with Real Talk with Roshini is that I got to, just like you, meet some of the trailblazers, meet some of the most amazingly honorable and amazingly humble people in the country. And they would come on my show and they would trust me and my microphone to get at their life. And it is such an intimate relationship that first you have with your guests, and then that transcends over to your listenership. And it is really, really remarkable. And the only thing you really have to offer is your voice. So if your voice is annoying to some, and believe me, I got great comments about my voice, and I also got someone who texted and said, I want to drive my car into a tree every time I hear your voice. Yeah. So you get the gamut. Fortunately, that was only one guy or gal, who knows. But at the end of the day, it is a beautiful medium. The landscape, though, is changing for talk radio. Some say it's dying. Some say AM stations aren't going to be around much longer. I hope it's not dying. I hope that we are just going to be able to find new ways to get that audio-rich relationship out there and continue to thrive.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And media is in quite a fascinating time of change, hence podcasts like, as we'll talk about in a bit, yours, The Crisis Files. So, yeah, we'll see. It'll be fascinating how this industry unfolds and evolves in the coming years. Roshini Rajkumar, our guest, who is just such a pro when it comes to understanding communication and efficacy in handling a crisis, including when that crisis is yourself, like in the case of President Joe Biden. We had the report finally come out from Special Counsel Robert Hur just a couple of days ago. And in that report, let me give a few facts, and then we'll get some legal perspective from Roshini first, putting on your licensed attorney hat. Robert Hur is not recommending criminal charges, this is from FoxNews.com, against President Biden for mishandling classified documents, according to his report after a months-long investigation into the president's alleged improper retention of classified records. Hur has been investigating Biden's improper retention of classified records since last year. Those records included classified documents about military and foreign policy in Afghanistan, among other records related to national security and foreign policy, which Hur said implicated, quote, sensitive intelligence sources and methods. But he said the following, quote, we have also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with poor memory. Based on our direct interactions with and observations of him, he is someone from whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him, by then a former president well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. But one final thing. Her said his investigation, quote, uncovered evidence that President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. Roshini, what did you make of the report, first of all?
Well, okay, so that last line that you just read is really the smoking gun. I mean, so he found, this special investigator found that, or special counselor found that Biden did indeed break the law, or a law that presidents shouldn't break, vice presidents shouldn't break. Okay. The second part of this is my prediction is that this report by Mr. Hur is going to be equivalent to James Comey and Hillary's emails. It will sink his presidential bid. That is my prediction, because there are so many layers of this we can pick apart. Just the report itself. Then on top of it, Biden gave talk show hosts a cornucopia of just things to talk about and comedians to satirize on their shows in that crazy press conference he held on Thursday, when the media was just ready, just in close quarters. First of all, it wasn't choreographed very well, not in a good room for Biden, and they're right there in front of him. And guess what? For once in a long while, the national media was doing its job. It was asking the president of the United States the hard questions and was exposing some very obvious discrepancies in President Biden's ability to continue not only in his current position, but to run again for president.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it was even more on display in his press conference on Thursday night. So he went out there first, and it wasn't in the Oval Office, by the way. And he gave a speech.
Right.
And he sounded cogent with the speech. He gave it pretty forcefully. Here are a couple of little tidbits from that.
I was so determined to give the special counsel what he needed, I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over 2 days on October the 8th and 9th of last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by Hamas on the 7th, and I was very occupied. It was in the middle of handling an international crisis.
In the middle of handling an international crisis, but he did it for 5 hours over 2 days. And then there was another part where he, of course, and he often does this, he brought up into the conversation, it was brought up in the report, though, his son, Beau Biden, his death.
There's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented, I wear since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of... Every Memorial Day we hold a service remembering him, attended by friends and family and the people who loved him. I don't need anyone to remind me when he passed away or passed away.
Let's talk about the prepared remarks for a moment, Roshini, including that one there in regards to his son, Beau, which, by the way, when Beau died, it was tremendously heartbreaking and impactful for the president. That is very clear.
Yeah, no one's going to argue that. I think that anything pointing out where your state of memory is and your ability to recollect and then one day, be president, or in this case, president again, which is what he wants to be, nothing is off limits when it comes to the special investigator, her, and asking the questions and that team his team that was asking questions. And then let's just go back to when he said he was in the middle of an international crisis. If I were advising him, I would say, now is not the time to take 5 hours over 2 days to meet with that team. You've got to stay focused on what's happening in Israel. So there were a lot of what I would say gaps in the preparedness of the president for those prepared remarks, and just to be the statesman that Joe Biden is as long as he's been in office, he himself should have known that he opened up several cans of worms with those lines. So I'm just saying that and absolutely giving Beau Biden the respect, and the loss of a loved one is tragic. I've lost all three of my parents, my father, my mother, my stepfather, and it is absolutely not something to make light of. But no one was making light of the fact that Beau Biden died. It was the memory of the date. I can tell you within a split second the date of each of my parents' deaths. So those are the kinds of things that an investigator, and again, as someone trained in the law, that's what you do. You try to get out of the gray and you try to keep things black and white. And that's what her investigation is about. So the reaction, I would give a pretty big F to Biden and his team and how they've reacted to it.
Now, one of the things that was quite striking is they decided to turn this into a press conference, which is not particularly good for Biden. And it showed right away with Peter Doocy from Fox News asking the first question.
President Biden, something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak. That's
Do you feel your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President?
My memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I become president. None of you thought I could pass any of the things I got passed. How'd that happen? I guess I just forgot what was going on.
Roshini Rajkumar, you are a crisis communication coach. You work with top folks on these kinds of things. How do you grade those responses right there regarding his memory?
Yeah, well, your memory really has nothing to do with what you say you did for the country. So the bottom line is you never want to get into a defensive posture when the media is coming at you like that. And the main person who doesn't want to get into a defensive posture is the President of the United States. So on both counts, he in his role and the stature of the role of president, as well as how you react to a hungry mob, which is kind of what that media press conference turned out to be, which, again, media should not be going for blue ribbons and gold stars from the rest of us. The media is there to act in place of the American people because they've got the microphone, they've got the press conference with the president in front of them. The media's job as reporters, not talk show hosts, but these reporters are in the room to get at the truth. So if they seemed mean or rude or a hungry mob to some people, hey, that's part of their job. And they haven't been doing that for many years, both with Trump and with Biden. And now, in probably one of the most consequential presidential races of our lifetimes, they should be doing that with both those men and with all the candidates.
Absolutely. Roshini, I want to play another clip here. This one was particularly combative when he was asked about concerns over his mental stamina by another reporter.
For months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, watch me. Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
And there was one other instance, and I want you to get your reaction to both of these, Roshini, where he put it on his staff.
Not share classified information. I did not share it.
With your ghostwriter.
With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
But the special counsel said
no, he did not say that.
Okay.
So that's combative. We'll get to that. I meant this
You
clip.
take responsibility for at least being careless with classified material.
I take responsibility for not having seen exactly what my staff was doing. It goes in and points out things that appeared in my garage, things that came out of my home, things that were moved not by me, but my staff.
Roshini, your thoughts?
That is a big ouch. You don't all of a sudden point fingers at your staff. I mean, I just think of every leader. I mean, I have a small team. There's no way that my team will be putting things in my garage without my knowledge. I mean, it's just ludicrous. And I remember when he was saying that kind of back in the day when this was first coming to light. It's just he cannot have it both ways or always. He's got to be straight with the American people. He's got to be straight with these reporters when they're asking him questions. And as we've talked about, the defensive posture isn't pretty.
Yeah, you never want to be on the defensive in that way. Here's the clip that I started playing there. It's the last one of Biden that I want to get to because it is outright lying, false.
Not share classified information. I did not share it.
With your ghostwriter?
With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
But the special counsel said...
No, he did not say that.
Okay.
He did not say that.
But, Mr. President,
let me answer your question. The fact of the matter is, what I didn't want repeated, I didn't want him to know, and I didn't read it to him, was I had written a long memorandum to President Obama why we should not be in Afghanistan. And I was multiple pages. And so what I was referring to, I said classified. I should have said should be private because it was a contact between the president and the vice president as to what was going on. That's what it is referring to. It was not classified information in that document.
Does it help your case to lie about what a special counsel said in his report, especially when the special counsel said we're not going to charge the guy?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. And that's a whole other thing. I mean, if the special counsel really did find that he did this, I think you have to say other reasons as to why you're not charging him. I mean, it's kind of like it's the worst case scenario for Biden in that the special counsel found that he did something, illegal, improper. And, oh, by the way, he, has a bad memory. He's senile. He probably shouldn't, he's not fit to stand trial. So American people, subtext, American people, is he really fit to be president again? I mean, this was, like I say, this is going to sink him. I will be stunned if it doesn't sink him in many ways.
Yeah, it will be stunning to see what happens in this election cycle. Roshini Rajkumar, our guest, appreciate your insights there. Also, of course, host of the Crisis Files podcast. And today's episode, just out this weekend, School Board Blues, has yours truly featured on the podcast. Roshini, go ahead, please.
Yes, well, so case file number 82. Now, normally, Jimmy, these weekly podcasts, I call the episodes case files, they drop at 12 a.m. on Mondays. But in honor of you and your announcement today, as well as the fact that I'm here talking with you, the team dropped it early so that your listeners can go listen where they find podcasts. They can go to thecrisisfiles.com and see your episode there as well as all the archive. They can also watch it. So we had a special videocast situation with Jimmy, and you can go to the Crisis Files YouTube page to watch us. So you can either listen to case file number 82, School Board Blues, or you can watch it and you can see your friend Jimmy as my featured guest. And these episodes are always only 20 minutes or less, 15 to 20 minutes. And we really try to dig into the matter. So we looked at local Denver headlines as well as national headlines of all of these different school board members who've really turned the issues of education and issues for our children into their own crises. The school board members themselves are becoming the sideshow or the crisis. As you have some great quotes in this episode. So I'm looking forward to having all of your fans take this in. It was a really fun episode to do, and also very illuminating, not just fun in that ha-ha way, very illuminating. We need to, as American citizens, we need to keep an eye, we need to hold accountable these school board members.
I think that's so well said. I have nothing else to add, except listeners will not be surprised to know that the name Tay Anderson does, in fact, come up. And just so you know, Roshini, I have to play this clip. I'm going down memory lane. I was at a school board meeting in the back right corner of the meeting, last one that Tay Anderson did as a school board member, and he came off the stage and did a big thing, or it ended with dancing with some of his supporters. It was strange, but he was at the podium, and at one point, he turned and looked back at me.
I have been able to travel across America. Yes, Jimmy, across America, sharing the great work that we have been doing.
That's because I highlighted that on taxpayers' dime, he went $13,000 over the $5,000 school board budget to, in part, go to all sorts of conferences in swanky locations, and he didn't like that too much. So it was an interesting moment for yours truly when all the eyes turned on me unexpectedly, thanks to my good buddy Tay.
Well, and the thing that's so funny is, when I was in high school and junior high, you'd never think that a school board member is traveling the country for my little suburban school district. So it's really kind of nuts.
Yes, it is. TheCrisisFiles.com is the place to go for Roshini's podcast, The Crisis Files, which is tremendous. So many great experts, and I'm really grateful. I love the opportunity when you can turn the tables on me, Roshini. Thank you so much for all these years since August 2014 of coming on the program. Love it so much, and we'll keep in touch and keep talking.
Thanks so much, Jimmy. Well wishes to you.
Thank you, and to you.